Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Jack Heimbigner to Author Circle podcast. Jack is a best-selling author, writing coach, and creator of the Minimalist Author Headquarter, a newsletter on Substack. He has written multiple books. He helps authors navigate the writing process, build their platforms, and sell more books. In this conversation, we are going to dive into his journey as an author, his approach to writing and marketing, and the strategies he uses to grow his audience and book sales. Welcome to the podcast, Jack.
I am excited to be here. Thanks for having me. And can't wait to run through some of the fun stuff that can help others and share a little bit of my journey.
Why don't we start with your writing journey? What inspired you to start writing?
This could be a long story, but the bullet point version is I've always been a writer. In 2017 is where things started for me. I read this blog post by Jeff Goins, and he was talking about it's never too late to start an online business. It's never too late to start a blog, to write a book. And I just was really inspired by that. And it came after this journey of me. I was working in my current job and it was a struggle at the time. And I was just trying to go, what brings me joy? What are things that I love to do? And looking back throughout my story, uh, writing was always something I loved. I loved writing papers in college. I would
Mm.
stay up at one of the local pubs and write my papers. People thought I was nuts. In high school, I loved writing, even when like teachers were constantly telling me like, you're not very good at this.
Mm.
And I can even think of times in like middle school and grade school where we had like writing assignments and I loved working on them. And
Mm.
so I think it's always been something that's in me. But then Jeff Goins was that catalyst to do something more. And that's when I started blogging consistently online, just sharing my thoughts, things I was learning, figuring out my voice. And between 2017 and 2019 was that foundational time to be able to set the stage for me to write a book. And lo and behold, in 2019, I had wrote, I don't know. That's why we have editors. I had created a series of blog posts and someone's like, you can take these and turn these into a book easy. And it was the first time I'd really ever thought of, oh, I could publish a book. And so that's where it started was I wrote my first book. It's called Productivity Success. I actually even have it sitting. I've got like a stack of my books, but
Mhm.
this is it right here.
Wow.
And it was based off of a series of blog posts on Medium that helped me go from the worst rep in my day job, to one of
Mhm.
the best at the time. And it was just really transformational. Once I published that first book, that changed kind of everything for me. It was
Mhm.
really, really
Mhm.
wild.
Mhm. Wow. So your book is on productivity, but I remember you have written on different topics. And what is your niche and how you chose it? It's very hard for people to find a niche for themselves.
Yeah, I think the niche really finds you more
Mm-hmm.
often than not, because I wrote productivity out of my own need. Like I needed to figure out how to do my job better. And so all of that content was out of my kind of self discovery and then organizing it, figuring out the system that it could work with my job. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was that start. But my niche now is two things. It's a two-way street. Is part of it is helping people write and publish books. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where the Minimalist Author Headquarters on Substack comes from. My book, The Minimalist Author, is all about helping people do this and being able to do it in the simplest way possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because, geez, I mean, there are so many resources. People are, maybe one day I'll be this person, but right now people are charging thousands and thousands of dollars to take you through to these complicated steps to write and publish a book. And sometimes what happens is people write their book, but then they never publish because they feel so overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I know after being able to share my experience in that first book, and like I have friends at work who still share my book with people at work,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing how it helps people, I was like, no, this needs to be easy. This needs to be
Mm,
easy. So that's my first niche is teaching people to self-publish and doing it as easily as possible. And then the second one is a Christian faith focus. I didn't grow up in the church, but I had a transformational experience in college that led me to work for a nonprofit at missions organization.
mhm,
And I've served in different ways in the various churches I've been a part of. My wife and I even hosted a house church for the last 3 years in our home. And I just felt in my being that was the other place where I'm supposed to be sharing my knowledge and experience.
mm,
Because again, I feel like in Christian circles, faith circles, cultural circles, people just have a lot of hurt. They have a lot of anxiety right now.
mm,
And even in the church. And
mm,
it was just really important to me to help find simple ways to reconnect people in spiritual realms and in new ways. I have a series of devotionals to help people restart their spiritual formations. And so that's the second place on Substack. It's minimalist faith. Sticking with that minimalism theme. I feel like as I
mm,
get older, I'm trying to get rid of more than I'm taking in. So everything's more simplified. But I would maybe even that's like the overall niche is this kind of minimalistic approach to life,
mm,
which I could say I stole from Jamie Northrup. But
mm,
he really helped me dial that down. No, this is what you're doing. Yeah. But it was a discovery over time.
mm,
That was from 2019 to 2025
mm,
and 6 years of figuring out where I'm going. And maybe could have done it faster, but I'm more of a trial and error person.
mm. No, that's great. That's great. And I'm glad you mentioned you write or your second niche is Christian faith because I remember reading your articles on Medium about being a bestseller author in that genre. Do you want to talk about it? How did you become a bestseller author in Christian faith?
Yeah, I would give you the Christian cop out that it's all God made it happen, all those things,
Mm,
which it is in some ways, but in also some other ways, it was because it was important to me to share my books with people and get them in people's hands. Becoming a bestseller fell in line with that. It wasn't anything I was intentionally trying to do. I just wanted to share my books with people.
mhm,
And we were talking about author Michelle Culp earlier and her books on self-publishing and 28 books to 100K. And that's where I learned a lot about becoming a best-selling author was it's a matter of figuring out your categories, figuring out your keywords, and
mhm,
then setting up promotional strategies to help you
mhm, mhm,
become a bestseller.
mhm,
And in that niche, that's where I learned to do that because it was like if I can hit the right categories of some where there weren't a lot of books, some where there were a lot of books that were around my topic, you can create the strategy to become the bestseller pretty easily. And I stumbled across it with my first book. It was a
mhm,
complete accident that I became a bestseller. I wasn't trying. I was just giving my book away. And then when the free promotion was over, people kept buying the book
mm,
and hit number one bestseller. I was like, oh, look at that. I'm a best-selling author today. But I've been learning a lot more about that and trying to do that with different niches with some of my books on writing. I've tried on a few fiction books that I have under a pen name just to see what works and what doesn't. I haven't figured that out. But with nonfiction books, I dialed in.
wow. So, what is your weekly routine, writing routine at the moment? So, I understand you have a full time job and you also write a newsletter or actually three newsletters and you write books. So, how do you manage it all?
Yeah, I don't know because I think I'm crazy, but my weekly kind of routine. So I have a day job. My I have three daughters, all of which do ballet at random times during the week. They also do this kind of Girl Scouts group too on Monday nights. And so I'm running around all over the place. And my wife is pregnant with our fourth. So she's not feeling well. So I'm picking up certain things. But most of my writing comes in the morning. I get up at 5:30. I read my Bible, journal, pray, and then I write until about 7 o'clock when my kids are allowed to come out of their bedroom. Most of the time they're sleeping, but So I'll go from say 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
Hmm.
And then I do a lot of writing when my kids are in their
Yes.
different activities. So like tonight, we're talking here on a Tuesday. My oldest has an hour and a half long ballet class at 6 o'clock. So I'm at the ballet center for an hour and a half because we live out in the country. So it's like, where else am I going to go? Yeah. So I'll write for an hour and a half. Like I'm going to work on my next book tonight, for example. Thursdays, my kids are in ballet for an hour and a half, split for shorter periods of time. So I'll write there. Monday nights, it's 2 hours of this. So I fit it in whenever I'm going out. And sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes it's like, my wife's, I need you to go to the store tonight. So then I'll run to the store, run errands. And so I don't necessarily write those nights. But that's where I fit it in is mornings, evenings. And I'm okay if I miss a day. I think that's an important thing for so many of us is it's like, "Oh, I didn't write today. I didn't write today. Okay. I'll just do it again tomorrow."
Speaking of writing, do you outline your books in advance or do you more of a discovery writer?
I do a lot of outlining. I don't do a lot of detailed
Hmm.
outlining. I am one of my strengths using that strengths finders book is
Hmm.
adaptability.
Hmm.
But if I'm left to my own devices, I'm like a golden retriever in a park full of squirrels. I do basic outlining for all my books. I don't like with my devotionals. I have this picture for each day, but I don't have a plan until I sit down and write for each day. So there's an outlining process, but there's a lot of discovery in that too, because I think it's important for me anyway, because I can take inspiration from a lot of things around me. And I've got lists of inspiring quotes and things that I've been thinking about in my Apple Notes. So it's easy to be able to go in there and go, oh, this fits perfectly. Just this in there and fill it out. And yeah, so I have an outline for books, but as I fill it in, I'm not like 3 points per chapter, 3 points per point. I suggest that to people who are like, I don't know where to start. Let's start there. And then as you start writing, I feel like a lot of people can get some
Hmm.
momentum. But yeah, it's a general outline.
That's great because most people probably fall in that category where they um, outline a bit, but then leaving the room for discovery. But then there are people like chronic outliner, like James Patterson, who does 100 outlines, and then probably there is hardly anything left to work out by the time he gets to start writing. But so, other than your difficulties in terms of finding time to write your books, what are the challenges you have faced to write?
Yeah, I think my biggest challenges are I think there's two kind of major challenges. And it's always one is like figuring out how to do something that I haven't done before. So like in self-publishing, it's like you can get into a routine of, oh, this is what you write it, you edit it, you design it, you format it, you upload it. And then, okay, but how do I do those things really well?
Mm.
I think that's always my challenge because once I get into a rhythm, I don't want to leave that rhythm, but things change. Amazon KDP changes all the time. Keywords and categories are changing there all the time. And just making sure that I'm keeping up on those things is hard, I think, for me. And I'd rather just set it and forget it and then reference people back to things. But
Mm.
it's to really sell books and to grow a following, you have to keep learning. And so that's the challenge. And then I would probably say the other challenge for me is just the kind of motivational aspects. Get a bad book review. I'm like one of those people, and I don't think I've ever really admitted this in an article, but I'm one of those people. I get one of those bad reviews. I'm just like, I'm hurt at first, and then spiteful, and then I look that person up. And so like letting go of some of those things is
Mhm.
really hard sometimes because then it's, do I need to change things in my books? Because that's one of the beautiful things of self-publishing
Mm.
is it's like beta testing. You just publish that thing and see what happens. And sometimes you get reviews and you're like, this whole page doesn't make sense. And then I'm like, oh, I'll go back in and change things if it doesn't make sense. But then I'm like, do I need to change the whole book? Oh no. And
And
so
mhm.
that mental game is really hard sometimes for me,
Mhm.
even after writing and publishing 18 books.
I have a phrase to reframe my mind on that. And it comes from another author I admire a lot. He says that a book is timestamp. It is what he thought at that point in time in his life. So if it's something changes, he writes another book. So rather than going back and changing things, he says you it is a timestamp at that point in time. This is what he had, and now it's changed and it's going forward. And I thought, such a brilliant idea. Rather than thinking of a book as need to be eternally fresh. No, this was I wrote it in 2020, and my knowledge and my experiences at that time was that's where it stays. And if I need to polish it or get it to another level, I write another book.
That's great. I like that. I like that. I'm gonna have to write that down. 'Cause I think that's one of those things because it's just,
Yeah.
oh, like I can because I have the ability to. I feel like
Yes.
I should update it, but it's maybe not. Maybe that is where I was, and then I can go on to the next one.
Uh,
That's
and
real
and
good. I like
from
that.
yeah, from experience, I can tell that it's much harder to upgrade a book or rewrite a book than to write a new one. Writing a new book is
Yeah.
much easier because now you are setting different set of questions and you're coming with a different mind frame. But while you're going and updating a previous one, you are still stuck at parts on previous mindset and the ideas you had. So you just don't leave, you leave it alone and you move on to the next one. It works for me at least. You have a newsletter, a Minimalist Author Headquarter. What led you to start that newsletter?
Yeah, that's actually funny because so I've been like zeroing in my self-publishing journey and wanting to share it with people. And I didn't really, I'm not great at branding necessarily. I might have put things together well now and it looks organized, but I'm not like a branding genius. This is a great idea. This is going to sound awesome. The Minimalist Author Headquarters really was inspired and encouraged by Jamie Northrup, the minimalist side hustler,
Mm-hmm.
because he and I were having this conversation. We met on Medium. We're having this conversation about what I was doing. He's like, this is awesome. This is what I needed to write books. And I was like, I'm so excited. Like, you think so? And as we're like fleshing things out and talking about different aspects of it, uh, like I was like, oh, this is really like self-publishing at a minimalist level. And he's like, you're doing it. You're living it. And when I decided to really start simplifying things, I moved my entire writing newsletter over to Substack, which was only, I don't know, a couple hundred people at the time. And I started out, I don't remember what I originally called it, but when I started to talk with Jamie, that's when I was like, oh, this is the minimalist author. This is the brand. This is it. And so it developed into that. Originally, it was just like minimalist self-publishing. And then I came up with the book, The Minimalist Author, and then the headquarters because Substack has become my main platform. I had a self-hosted blog for a long time and I hate using WordPress now. And
Mm-hmm.
so Substack has become the headquarters for all.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really, it was just, again, another one of those developmental, here's the idea, here's what I'm doing. Oh, a couple of conversations gave direction and focus. And that's what started it. And now we're over 1,300 people writing books together. And it has been super fun. Substack is a great community altogether. I feel like we both are like meeting all kinds of people, connecting. That's how we were chatting a while back, but seeing how things are growing and seeing how I feel like it hits the right person. People are seeing it because they want to self-publish books and they're tired of complexity. I think that has been
Mm-hmm.
super fun.
Mm-hmm. So, is this the only newsletter you have, or do you have another newsletter for your? other niche?
I do. I do. I have Minimalist Faith, which is on Substack. That too used to be, I used to have that on Mailer Lite, and it was a very bitty little email list, 50 people, mostly like friends and family or people I knew from Christian circles. And I brought that over and I've been playing around with it, but we're just up to just over 200 people on it now.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that one, like I said, I had that for my books, but no home base for all the Christian
Mm-hmm.
focused books. And
Mm-hmm.
Substack fulfills that
Mm-hmm.
need. And so that led me to start it and really take it seriously over the last year or
Mm-hmm.
so.
And what advice would you have for authors who want to start a newsletter to grow their audience?
Yeah, I would just say keep it simple. Like at first, if you don't know what to write, one, make sure you're just sharing your newsletter everywhere. If you're on
Mm-hmm.
Substack, share it in the notes. If you're on Medium, put a call to action at the bottom, maybe at the top. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Do whatever you want anymore. Just share your newsletter everywhere to start catching those people. And then with your newsletter itself, I would say if you don't know what to write or you just want to find things to help people, just share other people's work in it. I have another newsletter on Substack that I let go because it was getting to be a little complicated. But Self Publishing Daily was this newsletter. And basically, I would put three links something from me, something from someone else, and then a product, a service, or some sort of affiliate link. And
Mm-hmm.
I would just share those every day. I'm not saying you need to do a newsletter every day. That, like I said, that got overwhelming. But even if at first you're just sharing one of your articles, you're sharing something from someone else, and you're sharing like a book that was really encouraging to you or a YouTube video, start there to share every week. And then you can upgrade, and, a 300 word post about your topic or niche.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is just don't be overwhelmed. Start simple, and then you can grow it to what your audience, who you're collecting in your community, really wants out of your content.
Mm, that's a great advice. Yeah. So let's talk about marketing your books and selling your books. What strategies have worked best for you in selling your books?
Yeah, so I don't make a lot of money with this strategy, but I get a lot of books out the door. I do free promotions on websites like Fussy Librarian and Booksy or Readsy. I can't remember what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll basically put my book up, one of my books up for free for a week. You have
Mm-hmm.
to be in the select program with Amazon, but put it up for free for a week. And then I do one of these promotions and I will almost every time I have 1,000 to 2,000 books out the door.
Oh.
And they may be free,
Mm.
but if it's in a series, people buy books out of the series. And so I might have 1,000 Gospel of John devotionals go out the door for free, but
Mm-hmm.
then I get 100 sales on the other devotionals in the series right away. And
Mm-hmm.
then over time, I see picked up sales of all the other books in the series. That is really, that's been my bread and butter. I think 2 weeks ago, I hit 25,000 in book orders all time. And as of today, I'm at like 26.5 now. And yeah, if you get momentum and are okay with not making a ton of money right away,
Mm-hmm.
you like the momentum rolls. Like my Proverbs devotional sells 10 books a day, like every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because I got 5,000 orders in the first month and a bunch of reviews. Although if you read the reviews on Amazon, the ones who actually wrote reviews wrote scathing reviews of the book, but my
Mm-hmm.
overall ratings are like 4.7. Yeah. Giving it away at first, especially if you don't have a big audience, isn't a bad strategy. Just humble yourself,
Mm-hmm.
gather your people. Like all my books have at the beginning and the end a call to action to my newsletters. And
Mm-hmm.
I am positive that I get a lot of email subscribers off of those call to actions. And then those people buy my books again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you say you need to be on the Amazon Slack, you mean Kindle Unlimited? Is Is that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It used to be called like the Select program or something, but yeah, it's Kindle Unlimited, and then
Yeah.
that way you can do a free book promotion
Hmm.
and play with your prices without
Yeah.
having to republish the book every time.
Yeah. So that's every 3 months they give you 1 week free book,
Mm,
which
yeah.
means you can sell your book for free for 1 week. And how does the library, fussy librarian, and other sites like that work? So, do you have to write to them well in advance that your book will be available for free for this week?
Sometimes it depends. So yeah, the fussy librarian, for example, is you buy a paid promotion, and
Mm-hmm.
for my niches, it's $50 to $60.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, you put your book on for free. You buy a paid promotion, and if it's like a busy holidays, you want to do that in advance. If it's I want to do this next week, and that makes it March, I could probably set it up tonight, and it'll be okay. But yeah, you basically just buy a promotion, and then they send your book to tens of thousands of people who are looking for the free Kindle book deals.
Mm-hmm.
And like you want to get books out. That's the way to do it. And you might think that, oh, but they're like taking all the free books. Like I get their newsletters every day, and probably 3 times a week do I actually download any of the free books. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like the people who are downloading are they're interested in your book enough to download it
Mm-hmm.
some. And it might feel steep to pay $50 for a, an ad essentially for a
Mm-hmm.
free book.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I make back that $50 every time with
Mm-hmm.
the sales on my other books. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's totally worth it. If it's your first or second or third book, you might want to prepare yourself for taking a loss. But when you have more books and they're in a series, you'll make that money back every time.
Mm-hmm. Does it have to be free book, or do they take the reduced 50% off books or something like that?
Yeah. So Fussy Librarian does like the reduced price books, but those just go on their website, and I haven't had those do very well. Like they don't, because they're not emailed out and people aren't expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people go to the website there. I think Readsy does like a reduced price book. I haven't tried that yet. I know like Book Bub, BookBub. I don't remember
Yeah,
what it's
it
called.
is. BookBub. Yes.
Yeah, they're like the golden calves or the chalice of greatness when it comes to like free and reduced price.
Mm,
If you can get one of those,
yeah.
those
It's
do well, but I haven't been able to do that yet.
yeah. So a fussy librarian is the one where the librarians buy from, or is it the one which everybody gets that listing?
Oh, yeah, it's just a website called the Fussy Librarian. It has nothing to do with libraries, but it's yeah. So the website does like the reduced price books, but the email list is where you want to do a free promotion. That was
Mm-hmm.
my first free promotion I ever did, and it was like it blew my mind. I was just like, whoa, like a
Mm-hmm.
thousand people just picked up my book today,
Mm-hmm.
and then it leads to more. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do you do your writing books on there as well?
I do. They don't do as well as the devotionals, but they all propelled those books to being bestsellers too. So that's the thing too, is when you do a free promotion
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing it when you launch your book, if you do it in the first 30 days, this is like gold. And I didn't realize this until a year and a half ago. If
Mm-hmm.
you can get consistent sales and downloads and orders for the first 30 days, Amazon will push your book to more people, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll bump up in like the search rankings.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you want to, I almost tell everybody, you launch your book, do a free book promotion and get those orders going. Because what happens too is you have those free ones, and then the free goes away, but people are still seeing it in their inboxes, or it's like still up there in terms of ranking, and
Mm-hmm.
people will keep buying. And so I don't remember what the question was, but that's
No,
like a,
no, that answers it. Yeah. No, that's great because I haven't gone that pathway advertising as free books because I'm not on Kindle Select, and my most of my books are on writing. So that is the something which I have to think about, that when I'm going to move into fiction writing, and that's when I should be using all these things. But do you use Amazon advertising, and has it helpful?
I have, and I've spent a ton of money and not done as well.
Mm,
I So early on, I struggled. I tried doing Amazon ads, and I think one month I paid like $500 ads and sold like 10 books. It was so bad. It was shameful. I'm coming back around. So this is one of those things that I'm learning a lot about
mhm,
right now. Like I'm reading like all the Amazon ad books. I'm watching all the dudes on YouTube who are like, this is
mhm,
how to set up your ads for the first time.
mm,
I'm learning a ton about it because I think by the end of this year, I want to try to boost sales with Amazon ads.
mhm.
But yeah, my previous foyers into it were terrible. They were just not good. But all that to say, I also know people who they're like, yeah, I pay $500 a month and my books sell like $3,000 a month. And it's, if I can figure out how to
Mhm.
do that, some of those, and you can hire people to do it for you too. But
Then you,
I'm just like,
mm.
I'm not there yet.
Now you don't. And if you hire people to do that, you won't make any money because they
Yeah.
ask premium, and all your money, or probably even more than you earn, will going to them. But I can recommend you something. You can join for free Brian Cohen's 5-day challenge to do Amazon ads, and you can join his program. And I couldn't recommend it more because he has got about 5 or 6 writing groups happening almost every day of the week. And I'm part of that. I was one of his early members, and I learned a lot about Amazon advertising from that cohort. And I have never spent more than $45 to $50 a month, and I easily recover that from my book sales. His strategy is, and they are one of the people or cohort Amazon also recommends to book authors to join because they work very closely with Amazon and understand the platform much better than anyone else I have found. So I can send you that link if you like, and I can also
That would
include,
be great.
yeah, I can also include it in the show notes. We're coming towards the end, and our few question I ask everyone in the end is, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice when you started writing, what would that be?
I would go back and tell myself, focus, just focus. I suffer from shiny new object syndrome like nobody's business. I have, I was going to show you, I literally have a note in my Apple Notes with
Mm-hmm.
over 100 book ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are like book series,
Mm-hmm.
like 12 books deep. And early on, from the beginning, I focused for productivity success. And then after that, I get really like squirrely. If you look at my books on Amazon, you'll see my writing books, you'll see my devotional books, you'll see productivity success. I've got a few other random things in there. So I would probably say focus, just focus on one book at a time, figure out how to make that a series, and get 5 to 10 of those books out first before you start jumping into other pools. Because that got me in a lot of, I mean, I didn't get me in trouble, but I think that has stunted my ability to really grow exponentially.
Mm, that's a great advice. I think we all suffer from shiny object syndrome. Me too. I have put my fingers in so many pies that I haven't been able to succeed with the amount of effort I have been putting into different things. So I fully
Yeah.
agree with you. So, what is next for you? What upcoming books or projects you have?
Yeah. So in my devotional series, I'm finishing up, well, I'm rewriting the Gospel of Luke, which will be the last of my 4 Gospels devotionals. I've got Mark, Matthew, and John done already. So I'm in the process of rewriting that. I also have another devotional on the book of Psalms
Mhm.
that I'm just starting to put together. And it's going to be in the same kind of vein as my Proverbs devotional, which is going to be it's a principle called Lectio Divina. And it's basically you read something, you meditate on it, you write down what you're experiencing from reading it, and then you ask God, how does this apply to my life? And sit on that for a while. And so that's going to be the next one after Gospel of Luke. And then my kind of big project in writing and helping people with self-publishing is the Minimalist Author Way, which
Mhm.
is a course and community that I've got up right now. We've got
Mhm.
13 members in it, and I basically share everything that I've learned and everything that I'm learning on
Mhm.
self-publishing. We've got some great authors in there, people who are writing their first book, people who are writing book two, book three, book four. And it's been a fun place. It's slow moving right now, but it's fun when people drop in, hey, here's my book cover. Tell me what you think. And you can give some feedback and you can see what people are using and doing. I think that's going to be the gold of the course and community. And it's right now it's just under $100 and it's a lifetime membership. So I'm not going to make you pay every month, but that's something that I'm really spending a lot of time
Mhm.
cultivating, growing, putting resources into, because again, I want to create something that's simple. And so the course itself will take you from idea to best selling book. And then there's the added resources like building your author platform. And so those are my big projects right now. I'm not writing any more books on writing,
Mhm.
even though I'm really tempted to,
Mhm.
but I'm really looking to help people through a space that's really well contained.
Mhm.
Um, give that safety net too for people who are maybe aspiring authors who can share their stuff and be like, oh, I'm here to share this without John Grouchy Pants giving me a hard time about the
Mm.
color of blue on my cover. So those are the things I'm working on.
Great. Great. Sounds exciting. So, where can people find you and your books?
Yeah, my books are only on Amazon. That is probably one of the things some people think I'm crazy about. But I tried selling my first three books other places that they didn't sell.
Mhm.
So I just dropped them off. Yeah, you find me J.R. Heimbigner on Amazon and all my books are there. I'm on Substack. My Substack's jrheimbigner.substack.com,
Mhm.
minimalistfaith.substack.com. I'm on social media and I play around with it, but only for fun. Those aren't the places to be. Substack's it. I'm in the notes all the time there. I'm sending stuff out regularly.
Mhm.
And then if you're interested in any of my resources, the Minimalist Author Way, you can find that at jrheimbigner.gumroad.com
Awesome.
and uh, get you all set up. Lots of free resources there, some middle of the road, and then of course the course and community. And
Mhm.
that's all where I'm at these days, trying to pare
Wonderful.
it down as much as I can.
Wonderful. That's great. That's great. Thank you very much, Jack. I really enjoyed this conversation, and there's so much we have in common and so much we can learn from each other. So I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you. And I'm sure the readers and listeners of Author Circle will benefit from today's talk. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks.